Today we're diving deep into one of the earliest and most influential civilizations in human history, the Sumerian Civilization. Let's explore who they were, how they lived, what they believed in, and how they helped shape the world we know today. The Sumerians were one of the earliest known civilizations in the world. They settled in Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which is now modern-day southern Iraq. Their civilization began around 4,500 BCE and flourished until about 1900 BCE. The name Sumer refers to the southernmost region of Mesopotamia, where major cities such as Uruk, and Lagash were located. The Sumerians are often referred to as the cradle of civilization because they were among the first to develop cities, structured governments, writing systems, and complex societies. Sumerian society was highly organized. Each city-state had its own ruler, called a lugal, which means big man. These rulers acted as both political leaders and military commanders. Although each city-state operated independently, they shared a common language and religious beliefs. The society was divided into clear social classes. At the top were the kings, priests, and nobles. In the middle were merchants, scribes, and skilled craftsmen, while at the bottom were farmers and slaves. The Sumerian government maintained law and order, collected taxes, and managed public works such as irrigation systems for agriculture. Their administration was one of the earliest examples of organized bureaucracy. The Sumerians were polytheistic, meaning they believed in and worshipped many gods. Each city had a patron deity. For instance, Inanna was known as the goddess of love and war, while Enlil was the god of air and storms. The Sumerians believed that the gods controlled every aspect of life, from natural events like floods to human activities like harvests. To honor these deities, they built massive temples called ziggurats, which were pyramid-like structures believed to link the heavens and the earth. These temples served as religious and economic centers. Priests played a vital role in society, performing rituals, interpreting the will of the gods, and managing the temple's wealth and activities. Daily life in Sumer revolved around agriculture, trade, and family. The fertile land between the rivers allowed the Sumerians to be skilled farmers, growing crops such as barley, wheat, dates, and vegetables. They also raised livestock, including goats and sheep. Trade was important, and they exchanged goods like wool, grain, and pottery for materials they lacked, such as wood, metal, and precious stones. Most people lived in mud brick houses, wore clothing made from wool or flax, and enjoyed cultural activities such as music, dance, and storytelling. Education was highly valued for the upper class. Boys from noble families were trained to become scribes, who learned how to write using the Sumerian script known as cuneiform, which brings us to one of their most remarkable contributions. One of the Sumerians' most groundbreaking contributions to history was the invention of cuneiform writing around 3200 BCE. They used a reed stylus to press wedge-shaped marks into clay tablets. Cuneiform began as a method for record-keeping, tracking food supplies, trade, and taxes, but it eventually evolved into a full writing system used for storytelling, lawmaking, correspondence, and literature. The most famous example of Sumerian literature is the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's earliest known epic poems and a foundational work of world literature. The Sumerians were brilliant thinkers and inventors. One of their most important inventions was the wheel, first used around 3,500 BCE for pottery and later for transportation like carts and chariots. To improve agriculture, they engineered complex irrigation systems with canals, dikes, and reservoirs. They also developed sundials and lunar calendars to measure time and plan planting seasons. In the field of mathematics, they created a base 60-number system, which is why we have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle today. They were also among the first to use bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, for making stronger tools and weapons. Finally, they designed simple sailboats to help transport goods along rivers, further boosting trade. Although the Sumerians were eventually conquered by neighboring empires, their legacy lived on. They laid the foundation for many aspects of modern civilization, from written laws and literature to technological and agricultural advancements. Their ideas and innovations deeply influenced later cultures like the Babylonians, Assyrians, and even the Greeks and Romans, making the Sumerians one of the most important ancient civilizations in human history.
Mesopotamia is an exceedingly fertile plain situated between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. For 5 millennia, this small strip of land situated in what is today Iraq, Kuwait, and Syria fostered innovations that would change the world forever. Inhabited for nearly 12,000 years, Mesopotamia's stable climate, rich soil, and steady supply of fresh water made it ideal for agriculture to develop and thrive. About 6,000 years ago, seemingly overnight, some of these agricultural settlements blossomed into some of the world's first cities. In the period between 4000 and 3100 BC, Mesopotamia was dotted with a constellation of competing city-states. At one point, they were unified under the Akkadian Empire and then broke apart, forming the empires of Assyria and Babylon. Despite near constant warfare, innovation and development thrived in ancient Mesopotamia. They built on a monumental scale, from palaces to ziggurats. Mammoth temples served as ritual locations to commune with the gods. They also developed advanced mathematics, including a base 60 system that created a 60-second minute, a 60-minute hour, and a 360-degree circular angle. The Babylonians used their sophisticated system of mathematics to map and study the sky. They divided one Earth year into 12 periods. Each was named after the most prominent constellations in the heavens, a tradition later adopted by the Greeks to create the zodiac. They also divided the week into 7 days, naming each after their 7 gods, embodied by the 7 observable planets in the sky. But perhaps the most impactful innovation to come out of Mesopotamia is literacy. What began as simple pictures scrawled onto wet clay to keep track of goods and wealth developed into a sophisticated writing system by the year 3200 BC. This writing system would come to be called cuneiform in modern times and proved so flexible that, over the span of 3,000 years, it would be adapted for over a dozen different major languages and countless uses, including recording the law of the Babylonian king Hammurabi, which formed the basis of a standardized justice system. But Mesopotamia's success became its undoing. Babylon, in particular, proved too rich a state to resist outside envy. In 539 BC, the Persian king Cyrus conquered Babylon and sealed his control over the entirety of Mesopotamia. For centuries, this area became a territory of foreign empires. Eventually, Mesopotamia would fade, like its kings, into the mist of history, and its cities would sink beneath the sands of Iraq. But its ideas would prevail in literacy, law, math, astronomy, and the gift of civilization itself.